Hello, Avram.
Hey,
How are you?
all right, not bad.
That's good.
Yeah, not too bad.
All right, getting everything set with you. Boom, boom, boom. Avram. There we go. Hello.
Hey, so I saw all the stuff for today,
Excellent.
which all seems good. Well, let's see. There's a couple of things. There are many things that I could talk about. Possible things I could talk about.
Okay.
One, let's see. One would be I could talk about. I don't know if this is really that important. I could talk about the new AMD CPU we reviewed this week, which is the first with 3D, um, for the first with three built on a 3D process. I could talk about the project I worked on for weeks before this, which was getting Minecraft to work on your Oculus.
Right.
That's a little niche, though, unless you really like to play Minecraft,
Right.
uh, which millions of people do. So I don't know. Um, so there, so there is that. Uh, or I could do something I probably shouldn't do, but maybe who's going to stop me? Uh, which is that we have a tomorrow on tomorrow for Tom, we are having the Tom's Hardware Innovation Awards, and we are announcing 26 products that we consider really innovative.
Hmm.
Um, and we're going to do that in a live broadcast at 3 p.m.
Well,
Now,
well, we shouldn't take
since
the wind out of
since
that
I
sail.
I could say a few of them, not all 26.
Okay.
Um, I mean, the there's nobody's going to really stop me. you know, I mean, it I mean, I'm just saying, like, I just had, I mean, I know that, our company is definitely treating it as a award show and all that. We don't want to like give everything away, but at the same time, um, you know, it, I don't think, I don't think it'll kill anybody if I mention a few of the winners, and then I could talk about the fact that people should tune in for the show. So I don't know. What do you think?
I definitely think you should tell people to tune in for the show. I I don't know if we should steal any of the thunder away from the broadcast.
It's okay. We have 26 things, and who knows how many of the people who are want to watch that are watching right now. So
True, and
it's
and other than the RSS feed, nothing goes live until tomorrow at for Piltch Point tomorrow at 5. Anyway,
okay. Yeah. So listen, let's just. I mean, I don't know. I think that would be the most interesting thing to talk about.
okay.
If it had been a few days ago, I would have held up the PC that my son and I were building. But since it's already
Yes.
finished and sitting in his playroom, I'm
Yep.
not going to
I
pull it apart
I saw
and
that. I
jinx
love the
anything.
picture of the two of them.
Yes, I don't want to jinx anything. I don't want to
Yeah.
jinx anything. I could tell some folk. I could give some building advice, which is don't use. Oh, anyway. All right, let's get started, and
Okay.
I
And
can mention it.
and we can in the thing about tomorrow, we can also talk about how you guys got to where, like, what the process was for
Yeah,
picking
we could
those
talk about the
26.
process. And I also would like to ask you and or anyone who might be in our live audience what they think the most innovative products were of the last year.
Interesting. Okay. I've got a little bit of
So
time to think
give it a
on
thought.
that.
Give it a thought.
Yeah,
And
for
I
sure.
mean innovative. I don't necessarily mean the best quality.
Right,
I don't
right.
necessarily mean like innovation, not I mean, hopefully they're good, but I mean
It doesn't have to be.
not something that's good and iteratively good, but something that actually has some degree of innovation to it.
Sure, sure. Yep, sounds good. All right. Oh, I guess I should check and make sure I've got enough storage for the show tonight. That seems like a good idea, right?
Yeah.
What are we doing? There you go. Yep. Plenty of storage for tonight. All right. Then here we go. This week, Insteon vanishes. Ads could appear on your Xbox and PlayStation, and Netflix loses subscribers. This is F5 Live, episode 622 for Sunday, April 24th, 2022. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, through a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options, through our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Twitch, or YouTube, where you can join the community and get ad-free versions of F5 Live and Piltch Point, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us here in the studio. Give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. If you can't join us live, that's okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along. All right. Avram, we've been gone for a little while.
Yes.
We
yes,
had some holidays.
It's been quite a time.
We had some personal stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I had when we were gonna do a midweek show a couple of weeks back, I had the great privilege of getting COVID in the middle of that week, and
Rona got you.
All I want to say is you don't want it. If you haven't had it, you don't want it, and if you had it, you don't want it again. I really go out of my way to not get it, more so than most people. Wearing masks even places I really don't have to, but at the same time, my son, probably got it at school or a birthday party that he went to, and then I had a little sore throat, and I took a test because I didn't want to be the jerk who goes into my office and is coughing in the office, because if you come in the office and you're coughing, people are like, what are you doing here? Right. So, so I did it and it came up positive. And, for the first day, it was just like a sore throat. But then days like 2 and 3 and maybe 4, I had like fever and chills that were like the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'd go from like freezing to burning and burning to freezing. I would be like super cold and put on like 10 layers of clothes. But only at night. During the day, I was okay, but at night it was bad.
Interesting.
For some reason. And then it got...
I actually read something one time, COVID unrelated, about how the human body tends to get fever symptoms more at night than during the day. I don't remember where I read that, but...
Yeah, it was absolutely true in my case. Like, I woke up in the morning and I was like, oh, I'm great, I'm better now. And then like around 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, I started to feel the fever again, the chills. So really, really unpleasant situation. But, more so unpleasant. My whole family got it. Most unpleasant, I think, for my 3-year-old, who is
Oh,
obviously too young to be vaccinated, and she
or to
she had
understand what's happening.
yeah, she had like 103-degree fever, like 103.5 fever, which is not good because I think if you get to like 104 or 105, you should go to the hospital or
Uh
something.
huh.
I mean, she wasn't sneezing or anything. It's just, she is very hot and she was just very
Yeah.
tired and lethargic for a couple of days. And we gave her medicine to try and like, lower the fever. And then, she got better. So, you know, we survived. I
Fortunately,
still
with
feel a little tired.
fortunately
Yeah.
with children, that tends to be the way it goes. Is it tends to be mostly just fever and move on. Thank goodness.
Now my son, who probably gave it to all of us, he had almost no symptoms at all.
That sounds about
Uh,
right.
so so yeah, he made out the best. It's just we had to cancel doing some things, but
Yeah.
uh, we all got better in time to have his birthday party, which we had today, and I will make a birthday party recommendation for wherever you are. Get a Do what we did and get a video game truck. The kids and adults loved it. It's a truck that they pull up in front of your house that
Oh
has
yeah.
like a lot of gaming consoles in it and a big couch. And I mean, it's like nothing that you couldn't do, I guess, in your own house, except how many people have like a whole bunch of TVs and consoles
Right.
next to each other.
Right. Exactly.
So
It's actually part of something we're working on. So you hear that,
right.
Michelle? We're on the right track. Uh,
Oh, you guys are gonna have a gaming truck also?
it's it's part of something we're working on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, it was, but it was good for him because he had the week off anyway for spring break.
mm,
And we used a lot of the time for other stuff. We built a gaming PC together. Uh, we had a bunch of spare parts and built him pretty nice gaming PC uh,
that's awesome.
that he's now using to do nothing but play Minecraft.
Of course, as I
And
would have expected.
uh, Yes. One thing I learned though, this is just a little tidbit for anyone who's building a gaming PC. You can, if you have a modular power supply, which is a lot of power supplies these days, which means that the cables aren't built into the power supply, they
Hmm.
snap in. They are not interchangeable with each other.
Correct.
So if you, so like we had a bunch of of relatively old, not recently used, but not heavily used power supplies lying around in the lab that nobody wanted anymore. So I brought home one that was an SFF power supply, which is small form factor power supply, right?
Hmm.
And but I found that the wires that came with it were too short to plug into the motherboard that
Sure.
in the case that we had. So we went and there was like another power supply in the office that was also modular and it had much longer cables. And I tried this other power supply and this other power supply did not work.
Oh
It made a smoke, it made a shot, like it sparked when I went to plug the cable into it just to plug it in,
nope.
which I think it just died. And then I tried using the long cables from it with the SFF power supply, and the SFF power supply didn't work. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, the motherboard must be dead. I need a new motherboard. Bought a new motherboard, but then I also bought some extension cables and I got extension power cables, used
Yep.
extension power cables with the SFF power supply's original cables together,
Uh huh.
and I realized the motherboard I had was fine.
Fine.
It was just that I could not use the cables. But another
Yeah.
little lesson from this is I don't know if this has ever happened to you. It's never happened to me, although, but our power supply expert, Aris at Tom's Hardware, tells me that if you have a power supply that has been sitting around for a few years on a shelf, not being used, it uh, and you go to plug it in for the first time, it may die because the capacitors may have, I don't know, somehow
Expanded.
eroded or something just from sitting on the shelf.
They
and I've
like a
never heard
lithium
of
ion
that
battery.
before.
With a lithium ion battery, they can poof up. The chemical reaction goes bad inside the capacitors.
Oh, this is the first that I had heard of it. Is that true also if you have a power supply that's never been used before ever and sitting in a box?
Probably not, because the chemical reaction hasn't been may not have ever been initiated, and certainly not been used in any meaningful way. Even if it didn't burn in,
I mean,
you do a
because
100-hour
the
burn in, even that's
the power supply that we had used it in a test build, and maybe we used it for maybe 20 hours.
okay.
Uh, and that's the one that sparked and died. So
Just
I
enough to
don't know.
get the capacitors going, I guess. I don't know.
Eh,
Capacitors are weird.
yeah.
Plain and
Yeah.
simple. Capacitors are weird.
Anyway, so I don't know. Yeah, he claims that what he does is if he has power supplies he's not using, he takes them out once a month or something and plugs them in, uh, just to like give them some juice.
Wild.
So anyway, I never heard that one before, but take
Interesting.
it for what it's worth.
Well, I can tell you at Radio Shack, we used to have capacitors in the parts drawers that would sometimes go bad in the same way that had never had any power applied to them.
Wow.
I don't know. Yeah,
This
capacitors are
doesn't
weird.
look.
And depending
This
on the
doesn't
type
look
of
good for.
capacitor.
Yeah, I mean, this really doesn't look good for the zombie apocalypse because, like, once that happens, your capacity, you could have some perfectly good unused capacitors sitting around, and 5-10 years after the zombies destroy all of our industrial capacity, you won't be able to power anything up,
Could be.
provided you had electricity in the first place.
Right, right. May have to raid an old Amazon or Radio Shack warehouse for, for some unused capacitors and cross our fingers and hope. Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right. Well, we got some news to get down to, so let's get to it. This week's Nifty Gifties and F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, desperately seeking an Xbox, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. And remember that current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% off almost everything. To learn more about the discount and to browse the products that are available, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Unrelated, I've been making that joke about the Xbox for a while. It looks like the Series X is possibly going to be in stock long term here soon. Yeah, it looks like supplies are. They're going to screw up my joke, but it's good for gamers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that one. I mean, in my experience, it seems like people have been able to get Series X. It's not been nearly as hard as getting a PS5.
The S has been easy to get. The X has still been a challenge-ish, and the PlayStation has been cross your fingers and hope.
Yeah, I mean, I have a former colleague, Matt Swider, who basically made his bones tweeting about PS5 restockings. He actually he was doing it for Tech Radar. He did so well at that, he decided he was going to start his own business. Quit and start his own business, basically doing that plus other stuff. But he developed really good contacts within, I don't know, stores like Best Buy. People would tell him stuff that he shouldn't know about when a truckload was coming in or something.
Understood. Well, that helps when you're trying to do that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you and I have had a lot of conversations. Previous hosts, we've had conversations dating back many years about some of the issues with cloud-powered things. One of them is that sometimes they just get shut off with or without warning. And last weekend, one of those happened without warning. Insteon, which was one of the kind of original connected home platforms. There was X10, which was not quite connected home, but kind of ran over the power line. Insteon added its own kind of proprietary 900 megahertz communication. They pioneered the wireless repeating in connected devices. Last weekend, Insteon's connected devices stopped functioning. Obviously, the first thought was must be the cloud integration. So if you went to their website and went to the status checker page, it said all's good, no worries. No, definitely not that. As it turns out, the company shut down without letting customers know, without any kind of warning, without any kind of messaging even on their website for days. Between the time that devices stopped working and the company finally acknowledged what was happening, let's see, their Twitter went dark and stopped responding to customer questions. Their forums on their website went dark. Their app obviously stopped functioning. Connected devices stopped functioning. And then the weird things happened. Their executives pulled the company off their LinkedIn profiles. Their CEO shut his LinkedIn profile down after this, gone altogether. Finally, they admitted, gone. They're hoping to come back. It says, Dear Insteon community, in 2017, after many successful years, Smart Labs found itself in financial difficulties and the path forward was unclear. That year, Smart Labs took in additional capital and brought in new management to turn the situation around. They do not mention, by the way, the company that made the purchase, who the CEO owned. So this capital management company bought Smart Labs. The capital management company installed their founder as CEO, and he's the one whose LinkedIn profile is gone. Skipping ahead, although incredibly difficult, we hope the Insteon community understands the tireless efforts by all the employees to serve our customers and deeply apologize to the community. So the in-between bits is that they've been trying to sell the company again for several months. It fell apart in March. It fell apart a month ago. So they knew what was coming. They knew a shutdown was coming, and they went, we don't need to let anybody know. We don't need to have a transition path. We don't have to have documentation. No worries. We won't open source the software. We're just going to disappear. That sucks.
Yeah, it does. So this really leads to a few recurring issues. This is a great example of
Ooh, bless you.
Excuse me. Sorry. What I would call well, I'm supposedly negative, so I can sneeze periodically. Don't worry, Scott. You won't catch it.
Excellent.
Anyway, you two live viewers. Anyway, so
and if you do, it's not because of him. That
I mean, the internet's not that good.
Right.
So anyway, what I was going to say is, this really, I mean, we've talked, I think, a little bit before about right to repair, and e-waste. And
right.
This is a great example of e-waste being created, and whether there should be a right to, I don't know, a right to use, right? Because
right,
there's a lot of devices. There's a lot of devices that rely on the cloud. They have to have the cloud to work.
Right.
And it it does, like, for example, here's one that, like, I don't get why it needs a cloud at all. But like the other day I got a Google Mesh router from my mom and we put it in. And like, to control the mesh router, you have to go into a cloud UI. And it's really not clear to me that whether this would still work if Google turned off its cloud UI. Just to set up, just to, like,
Is it
set
actually
up and
cloud
modify
or
the
is it a
settings.
server running on the thing?
No, I think
Because
it was actually in the cloud.
okay, because I've got
I think it
I've
was
got
actually a Google address.
we've got two things going on in the offices here, two different mesh systems, and both of them require you to go to a website, something.com, but both of them that thing is hosted on the main
Oh wait, so
router.
the .com, it's a .com, but the DNS is in your local. So
Yep.
you know what, they could have fooled me. I don't know, but it does make you think, like, things like your
Mhm.
router, if your router has to connect to the cloud, things um, like this smart home stuff. And did you really need it to connect to the cloud? Because I mean, if it's
So
controlling something within your home.
so the good news is not everything stopped working. So the app is currently DOA. The first and most important thing to know is if you have Insteon and you have one of the home hubs, do not reset it. If you're hearing this, do not reset your hub. Once it's reset, you're done. It requires see, here you go. It requires access to their cloud to be able to reinitialize. But if you don't reset it, there are some alternatives. So the switches still control the bulbs. All the things that are set up still work as expected. You've lost things like schedules and automations like that. If this then that integration, things like that, gone. But your internal things, if you flip a switch, it'll still turn your bulb on and off. So at least there's that. We have links to two different open source products that both are able to compensate for the lack of the cloud. One is called Home Assistant, and one is called OpenHab. Both of them support Insteon because Insteon has had a pretty open API. They came to I've got some stuff in my file cabinet out there. They came to a meetup that we did for the Microsoft developers group here in Tampa. One of their engineers actually traveled here to give a talk on how to program for Insteon. So they've been pretty open about it for a long time, which is at least good in this case, which means that there's ways to bypass and give yourself a second life. But if it was somebody like, I don't know, Apple, right? They're not open about anything. That's the whole Epic Games lawsuit, right? They're not open about anything. If they shut things down, investment gone, e-waste created.
Right. I mean, it's a lot of people's money being thrown out. I mean, like, a lot of these things you don't want to replace every 5 years or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So, and I also want to point out, I'm not convinced that just because, okay, so here's a company that went out of business, but that doesn't necessarily mean that if you buy something that's made by Samsung or
Right.
Microsoft or Google,
Oh, certainly
that
not
uh,
Microsoft.
that they are going to support it in perpetuity, even though the company will continue to exist. Is like, I mean, we don't expect Microsoft to go out of business anytime soon. We don't
No,
expect Google to go out of business anytime soon.
but
But
I expect
they
both of
still
those
kill
companies.
products.
I expect both of those companies to release things and then pull the plug out, pull the rug out from under them fairly quickly. For example,
Yeah,
the Cortana home speakers.
right, exactly. So, there are things like that will have, you know, the rug pulled out from under them. So, I would, this is not something that's advertised, but I would love to see when I got a product, like, how cloud dependent is this?
Yeah.
Like,
It's a great idea.
I would love to get like some kind of a report or something like, what do you need to hit our servers for? Now the problem is companies don't want to share this information. They want you to behave as if what you buy will always work,
Mm-hmm.
and they want you to behave or just not care. And of course, they never want to admit that there's a possibility that they could either drop support for the product, or just end up dropping support because they don't exist anymore. So, I mean, this applies not only to smart home stuff, but to such a wide variety of things. Smart watch, uh,
Mm-hmm.
robot kits for kids,
Yeah.
even some video games and video game systems.
Some.
Uh,
So many.
I mean, for example, here's an example from my life. You probably have some better ones, but years back, right, when my son was really into this, we got Disney Infinity.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that was a thing. For those who don't know, it was like a Toys to Life thing. So you'd have like the Disney Infinity game, and then you'd get the figures, which had NFC in them, and you place them on this like dock that would read the NFC, and it would make the character appear in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it did actually work. Like Disney cut off support for it,
Right.
right? And when we got it, like a friend of mine gave it to me. He's like, "Sorry to say, Disney cut off support. It worked, so good there. It worked, but it was missing some key features. Like you could play it, but you couldn't download others. Like there was a whole
Sure.
bunch of user content you could never download anymore because of that, and whatever. So
Yeah.
you know, there's just a lot of things like that where you end up with with a brick,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to end up in a landfill somewhere, and
Oh,
this is a real shame. So
the amount
I
of
would like to
stuff
see.
around our offices that are that. it's,
So
it's
I
painful.
would I would really like to see some type of report or a statement or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
remember we used to get what was that thing that you used to get where it would show how environmentally friendly the product was? Do you remember what
Oh,
I'm talking about? What was it called?
yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like nobody
yeah.
does it uses it anymore. But there
Yeah.
was you'd
Like
get like
a
a logo or something.
the more advanced version of the little yellow sticker on the side of your TV when you buy it.
Yes, yes. It
Yeah.
was no, I mean it wasn't telling you how much power it used. I guess it was telling you
Right.
what percentage of it was recycled or something
Yeah.
like that.
That's what I mean. It was a significantly more advanced version of here's how much power you're going to save.
Yeah.
Period.
So
That's all the
anyway,
stickers. But this had all, it had some power stuff. It had recycled material. It had recyclable material. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of what it was called
so
though.
so there should be like a cloud dependency sticker or something on anything you buy that's remotely connected to anything, and it should tell you what it depends on the cloud for. Even if it's something like a mouse, maybe the cloud dependency sticker would say something like drivers and updates or something like that,
Yeah.
which is kind of implied, but it still work,
Right.
you know, aside from that. But like everything that you get should have some type of cloud dependency sticker or some kind of warning. And then I would buy the thing that has the least cloud dependency. That
Yeah,
would be a selling point for me.
for sure. And it could be like
Also, it's more secure.
absolutely it is. Yeah.
It's
Interesting. I am not going to find a domain and start this organization tonight. That is the commitment I'm making. I can't make the commitment that I'm not going to do it tomorrow, but the commitment that I'm making right now is that I'm not going to create an organization before midnight. Uh, But yeah, I mean that would be a great thing. It could have essentially like maybe a 5 point traffic light type thing, and
Right.
then you could, I don't know, scan a QR code and it would take you to the full report or something like that on all the things that are cloud dependent. Yeah, that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, and you don't get, unfortunately, you don't get a lot of, that information's not easy to come by. It's not regularly disclosed. And
Right.
sometimes, like you said, like we were talking about with the router, it's not clear. It's not clear to me what would happen to my Google routers if Google cut off support from them.
Mm-hmm. Or God forbid, screwed up and forgot to renew their domain name, which they have absolutely done before. So, who knows? There's lots of things that are not even like actively aggressive, like terminating support for a product. There are things that are potentially, passively aggressive, like forgetting to renew a domain, and then your device checks for an update and downloads something malicious because somebody else owns the domain. Right? There's all kinds of things like that.
Yeah.
That's all of that is interesting. Yeah, so that's one of those things you got to keep an eye out for is cloud dependency on stuff. You're talking about Disney Infinity. I famously committed to never spend money on a mobile game ever again after EA shut down Playfish and screwed us out of SimCity Social. So I I totally get it. I have been on this kind of weird relationship with the cloud in products for a while, so I definitely get it. We'll see. I don't think Insteon's coming back. That's my guess. Also, by the way, since the parent company is what has shut down, if you have Nokia branded home devices, also don't reset your home hub. They make the same product. It's their products with the Nokia name on them. So I would also recommend not shutting down that hub or resetting it because of the same problem. My guess is the Insteon stuff will work for you as well. Anyway, just a PSA. We've got links at PLUGHITZlive.com/the upstream, so definitely go check it out. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices, and you can get a special price right now with a 31-day money-back guarantee by going to pilchpoint.live/PureVPN. All right. Okay, so I got a quick story before we start. You have been dancing to your theme music for years now, and I co-host another show on Fridays, GNC Week in Review, and we just launched music, and since I have no responsibilities while the music is playing, I find myself dancing to it. So
Exactly.
I even said I said on the show this week, I'm like, I understand Avram now.
Well,
I
listen,
totally get it.
Actually, I should get a loop of that music, and when I'm like about to like, I don't know, do something, I'll just play it for myself. I mean, it's some people just feel like they have to have theme music. Like my kids, for example, my son, his like before he's gonna do something he thinks is cool or whatever, he makes us play Jump Up Superstar, which is this
Wonderful.
this one Mario game song, and he just goes nuts for it. And then like my daughter starts, heard the song and now she likes it too, and I'm so sick of it. Anyway, but
Oh my goodness.
I'm so sick of it. But anyway, so speaking of things I'm not sick of, so tomorrow as if you're watching this live, Monday the 25th at Tom's Hardware, my day job, we are going to be announcing our 26 winners of the first annual Tom's Hardware Innovation Awards. These are, we will be doing the announcement at 3 p.m. Eastern. We have an article on our homepage that points you to the live stream. And of course, we'll be putting up an article at about 3:30 with all the listings in it. I'm going to spoil it a little bit and talk about some of the winners right now to whet everyone's appetite. But before I do that, I'd like to pose the question to you, Scott. We went through the last year, like the last 12 months. So from, let's say, April of last year through the end of March, the last, say, 365 days or so.
Okay.
What products did you see that were the most innovative? Now, these could be products that shipped during that period, or they could be things that were announced but not yet shipped. In which case, we're judging them based on the potential, but we haven't totally tested them. So, what we went through and we identified 26 of these. All of our editorial staff, we went through and had a long talk about them. We did not say that we had to have one in each product category. So we've got a couple of different 3D printers, and so you don't have to have one for everything. What would you say are innovative products? Not just good products. They don't even have to necessarily. They may not even be the best products. Just ones that are different and trying to sort of break some new ground.
Okay, so obviously the time where I pull most of my interesting stuff from tends to be our CES coverage. And I've got a couple from our CES coverage this year. Some from myself and some that I'm going to say that our viewers probably agree with, because one of these videos has been unbelievably popular for us, which suggests that a lot of people tend to find what they're up to innovative, or at least desirable, right? That is a product called On to Cook. It is essentially the Trivection oven from 30 Rock. Anybody who was a fan of 30 Rock, somebody has essentially made the Trivection oven just in a smaller form factor. It's a really interesting concept. Speeds up the cooking process without all of the nutritional loss of, say, a microwave, while still using microwave technology on a very small level, which I think is a really interesting idea. I know it was a joke on 30 Rock, but it's almost exactly what these guys put together in real life. And the video on our YouTube channel has been wildly successful. And no, if you were coming here because YouTube has decided, because I mentioned it again, that that we have any additional information, no, I still don't know a price. I still don't know a release date. And as soon as I do, I will let you know, because we get that question all the time. There's also a company called Lumalore that has this. Do you know it?
No, but it sounds familiar. Well, it sounds vaguely familiar.
So it is electroluminescent lighting. It's really cool. They were showing it off, essentially being able to put actual lighting as a sticker on things like bike helmets and things like that. If you could just stick on some things and it could be controlled, you could have turn signals and stuff on your helmet without having to add a bunch of weight and stuff. And it takes basically zero power, which was really impressive. I found that pretty innovative and also useful.
Can you turn it on and off, or is it just constantly on?
Yeah, you can turn it on and off. Yeah, because they were talking about using it for turn signals on the back of a helmet, for example, or powering it on. They've got an example that's like a stripe down the back, from front to back on a helmet. But they also said it could be integrated just like my logo. The F5 Live logo is put onto the shirt. This could illuminate if we wanted it to. All pretty cool. That seemed pretty innovative to me. What else did I have? I had one other thing that I saw on here that stuck out to me, but now it is gone. Well, I don't know where it went. I don't remember what the other one was. So I'm going to stop there for right this second until I find something else. Those were two of my favorite non-iterative things from our coverage this year.
All right. Is there anyone in the chat room right now who has anything that they thought was particularly innovative in the last year?
I don't see anything right now. Hopefully somebody will say something.
I will start with some of mine, and if anyone wants to jump in, I'm really excited to hear yours. So year 26, I'm not going to say I'll spoil the whole thing tomorrow by saying all 26, but let's go with a few selected ones. So one of our selections, and this is a really innovative product in the sense that it's really creating, the desire has been out there for this product, but perfecting it in this way is really, I think, going to lead to a lot of copycats, which is good. The Valve Steam Deck gaming console. So, for sure. We have seen, I wish I had one here to show. We have seen PCs that were in, a handheld form factor before. There's some small companies that made them, and they didn't, I don't think a lot of people have bought those.
The HD Mini or something like that.
Yeah, like the Win.
That's
what's it called? The Win PD or something.
Yeah.
There are a couple of companies like that. Notice that you haven't seen like a major company get in, although, you have seen companies sort of tease at it or do things like Android or whatever, but like Valve is responsible for Steam. So they have a huge library of games. And in making the Steam Deck, they put Steam OS on it, which is a flavor of Linux, and then they've used Proton, which is a Windows compatibility layer for Linux, to make a lot more of the games play on it. And you can install Windows on it, but it's not really recommended. And so they have a library of hundreds of games that can run on this handheld console that has kind of the look and feel of a Switch, although I wish you could actually take the controllers off, but that's another story. But there seems to be a lot of pent-up demand for a handheld gaming system that runs PC games. And Valve has actually done it. They've done it at a reasonable price with good quality. And so I think we're going to see more systems like this, and that is a really good thing. And the one that they did come out with is really good. So
we're waiting on ours.
Kudos to Valve for not just having a good idea, but having good execution of that idea. Speaking of other things that were, really good ideas with good execution. One that we're announcing tomorrow is the HyperX Cloud Alpha wireless headset. How can you innovate with a wireless headset? We've had a lot of wireless headsets on the market. I'm wearing one, not a Cloud Alpha. I'm wearing a Logitech headset. But anyway, what makes this one different is that it offers 300 hours of battery life. That is about 10 times what most wireless 2.4 gigahertz headsets deliver. So, imagine not even really having to think about charging very often. Just, increasing the battery life to that extent is definitely innovative and obviously something I think everyone would like to see more of.
Yeah, that's that like line that between both innovative and uh, wanted.
Yeah. Also, we tested. I should say that this is one we tested. It's hard to do a benchmark test of this type of thing to say it lasts exactly 300 hours, but our tester used it frequently over a 2 week period, and it was just below like 50% battery life after that. So
Wow.
uh, it seems to really deliver what it says. So, um, kudos to HyperX uh, for really setting a standard for battery life. Um, Speaking of standards, uh, AMD's Ryzen 7 5800X 3D CPU, which coincidentally we just published our review of last week, uh, is the new best CPU for gaming. And it does it in a way that is really innovative. So you notice that the name is 5800X 3D. How can a CPU be 3D? I mean, how could it even be 2D? I mean, it's not like you're watching it. Well, the idea is that they are using, they're stacking chips, they're stacking components in a way to increase the amount of L3 cache. So this has 96 megabytes of L3 cache on it. The 96 megabytes of L3 cache really make the difference. And this, it's what's called, AMD calls 3D V cache. The 3D V cache allows this chip to beat Intel's Core i9 12900KS, which costs like 70% more on gaming. Now, it doesn't mean that it's faster. The Intel is a little bit faster on some non-gaming tasks, but using this 3D V-cache technology, which had previously been used by AMD in some data center chips, but never in a end user CPU before, is a real innovation, and I expect that we'll see more of it, particularly when the company comes out with a new generation of Ryzen chips later this year. Um, a couple other innovative things that came out in the last 26 months. We really, I have right here actually. So here I'll bring a prop and announce one because I have the prop here. This is the Dell Ultra Sharp webcam, and it is a really innovative webcam. It goes for a street price of under just less than $200, and you'll see that it looks a little weird for a webcam. It's got this
Yeah, it
this
does.
cover on is magnetic,
That's cool.
right? And then there's a stand, which is over here somewhere. Yes. So I think this is the stand for sticking it onto your monitor. Whoa. I don't have a lot of experience with sticking this on my monitor, I have to admit. But anyway, magnetic. So this thing operates at 4K. It's not the first 4K webcam, but it is a fantastic 4K webcam. It uses a Sony sensor, really, really good quality. It also could do 60 FPS at 1080p. So for those who are streaming, you can get pretty high refresh rate, pretty high frame rate considering for a webcam at 60 FPS. And the low light performance and the overexposed performance are really excellent. There is Our reviewer tested this by in front of in front of the window on a sunny day, and that is poison for a webcam. For a normal webcam, your face will be totally in shadow, and the bright light behind you will be what people see. But this webcam was smart enough that it dimmed the window light and brightened her face, and so which is which no other webcam did nearly as well. So Dell has broken in with a really high quality webcam. They've also innovated in the field of view. This has 3 different fields of views, including 90 degrees, which is really wide. I'm talking to you now on a Logitech C920, and that I think is a 73 or 75 degree field of view. So you can see it's much wider, but you can also operate it at 78 degrees or I think 64 degrees, depending on how tight you want to get into your face. So a really, really neat webcam. And by the way, they really focus on the fact that it's a webcam because it has no microphone in it. A lot of webcams have a built-in mic, which is somewhat of a convenience. But you know what? If you're really serious about your camera, then you probably want to be serious about your mic too, and have a podcast mic. So this is another really innovative product from the last year. We've got a bunch more that I could talk about, but I think we'll save some of those for tomorrow's broadcast at 3 p.m. Come to tomshardware.com and you can see more of these. We've got a lot of really neat things on our list, and we'll be talking about it.
Well, I can tell you, I'm looking forward to it. That was the things that we showed off there. I was shocked. Honestly, I know you said Dell, and I absolutely heard Logitech, because I just assumed it's a great webcam. It must be Logitech. Right? I was shocked.
No, Logitech actually has
again.
not. Logitech actually needs to. I mean, their traditional webcams, the C920, which has been around forever, and the variants of it, the C922, whatever, the C930, which is sort of a business version, they're all great, and considering the price that you pay for them, like $70, they're still probably the best value around in webcams.
Yeah.
But on the high end, Logitech is not actually in a great place. They have a 4K camera called the Brio that's been out for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
It's not nearly as good as this Dell. They're all, so, if you are a streamer, if you are doing a show like this show right here, you might, and you want the best quality webcam, then the Dell Ultra Sharp webcam is it. We have another webcam on our list tomorrow that uses some interesting technology and is quite a bit more expensive than the Dell and beats it on a couple of things and loses to it on a couple of others. But as far as what I would get if I were buying a webcam and I could spend, say, up to $200 on it, I would get the Dell Ultra Sharp webcam without a doubt. It is a fantastic camera. And one thing I think we've all learned over the last couple of years is having a good camera matters.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I out in mission control, I had been running a 920 flat from like when they came out, and I replaced it with the Razer one.
Which the Keo Pro?
With it. Yeah.
The Keo or the Keo Pro?
Keo Pro.
The Keo Pro is another competitor to this. It's really not bad. It does pretty good low light, but Dell is better. The Dell Ultra Sharp is better.
Well, we had a relationship with them for a while. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a good webcam.
I've been real happy with it, especially I think on Thursday somebody did a sale on them again for half price, and at $99, it's a heck of a deal.
Yeah, no, that is a good deal. I mean, this is still expensive.
Yeah.
It lists for $200 but I've seen it selling for like $180 something. So yeah, it's still expensive, and for some folks, they might be annoyed that it has no microphone in it.
Sure.
So yeah, but it is, far as low light performance and the really wide field of view,
Yeah, that's
it's
cool.
just fantastic.
That's cool. Well, I'm looking forward to the stream tomorrow. You said 3:00. Where are we going to be?
3:00 Eastern. Go to tomshardware.com, and we have embedded the YouTube. It's also on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/tomshardware. But we have an article up. Will be on the homepage that actually has a video embedded in it, so you can watch. And then if you aren't there to watch, our full article about it's also going to go up at 3:30. So
perfect. Well, I will be there at 3 for sure. I've already set an alarm while you were talking about the couple of items. I'm very excited about it. And as always, thank you. And I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, Bluetooth 5.0, 7.1 surround sound, plus a lot of extras for the best gaming headset for the price. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC, plus they won't break the bank. You can learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. Something not great in the gaming world right now is the conversations taking place at both Microsoft and Sony about in-game advertising platforms for the Xbox and the PlayStation. We know that on mobile games, we talked about it a little while ago, we talked mobile games. On mobile games, there's a lot of advertising, oftentimes straight up commercials. It's the way a lot of mobile games, especially the free-to-play, whether you're playing, Candy Crush or The Office, doesn't matter. They're mostly powered by advertising. The few exceptions are things like Pokemon Go that do everything based on in-game in-app purchases. But we've mostly avoided obtrusive advertising in games on consoles. Sure, in racing games you'll see, the tracks might have sponsors in the same way they would in a real game. In UFC or FIFA, of course, you might see brand logos, things like that. But minus one glaring exception that I can come up with, we've mostly not seen any kind of hardcore advertising in console games. UFC 4 being that glaring exception. They ran a full commercial in the game, and gamers revolted, and EA actually had to go to Reddit to apologize. It was a big thing. So EA's gotten real good at apologizing for stupid decisions, though. But in this case, Microsoft, first, there was a report that Microsoft was working on an in-game advertising platform, and not to be outdone, a report came out that Sony was having similar, if not identical, conversations in-house about the same thing. What I'm hoping is that the slightly more detailed information that we've gotten from Sony's camp is going to be the reality for Microsoft as well. Sony is essentially talking about, say you're in a city and there's a billboard. The advertisement could be generated and swapped out just like ads on either of our websites are at any given time, which which I think would be okay. What I'm hoping is not going to be the case is to progress, you have to watch a commercial like in the mobile games or like UFC 4. Fingers crossed on that. But, you know, we see advertisements on the Xbox dashboard already. Essentially, Microsoft wants to expand that. And Sony wants to get in on the game as well. Neither company has really talked about how... Well, neither company has talked about anything. But the people who have anonymously given information on the talks have said that neither company is really sure on how monetization might work. But both of them are going to control who can and cannot advertise. And that, I think, is the reason why both are getting involved. I've been thinking about this for a couple of days. My thought is both companies know that this is coming and there's nothing they can do to stop it. And so they want to make it easy to integrate in-game advertising while still being able to control the content. That's my feelings on what's going on. It wasn't how I felt when I wrote the article, but it's how I'm feeling today. That might change tomorrow, but that's where I am right now. What do you think, Avram?
Sorry. I think that if it leads to you getting games cheaper or free to play, then it is probably a good thing for the consumer. Although, as we've seen on mobile, a lot of that really becomes very annoying. But at the same time, I mean, you know, some things you just are expensive and you don't want to have to pay for, and so you pay with your time, right? Now,
Sure.
I hope that I think what will really annoy people and would annoy me is if I paid $60 for a game and then I'm playing the game and I have to watch ads. I mean, there's product placement and then there's ads, right? Like if I'm on a racing game and I see a little billboard I'm racing by, I mean, whatever. But
I suspect that is what we're talking about here. From what both companies are saying, or what the anonymous people with inside knowledge, as we know, is how this information gets out all the time. Both companies are looking at that kind of a model where it would be more like digital billboards in games than it would be full over-the-top commercials.
What do they mean by a billboard? Is it like going to be something that's sticky to the top of the screen?
No. Like actual in town or in game billboards. Like if you're in Grand Theft Auto Online, let's say, and there are physical billboards throughout the town. You know, Spotify could put an ad on that billboard.
How many games have that kind of world where you might see that?
I don't know. But I suspect that the game companies, because remember, you know, when it comes to the consoles, the consoles approve and deny releases for titles, right? So I have a feeling that the publishers have been coming to Microsoft and Sony and going, there's demand for this in our games, and so far you're not allowing us to... So far there's no way to do it. We're thinking about doing it. This is what we want to do. And Microsoft and Sony are going, oh, they could run ads for anything they want. That would be a huge problem. What if we build an ad platform to prevent them from being in charge? Then we can be in charge. So that way we know that it's not going to be inappropriate content. Because I'll tell you, I've been playing this stupid mobile office game, and I hate everybody who suggested it. So I spend too much time in it. But I'll tell you, there are a lot of ads that I'm surprised are allowed to run on an Apple device, to be perfectly honest. Apple doesn't have control over the ads that are run, but they are for games that are in their store. So a little bit. So I don't know. I think they want to prevent that situation. That's my guess right this second.
I mean, my thoughts are
evolving on it.
I hope they do, because online ad networks are notorious for not adequately screening ads. I mean, go to
We,
any content site on the web.
I, I, the best example I can come up with offhand was when G4 TV, before they went away, was using the Yahoo ad platform, because Comcast doesn't matter. They were using Yahoo as their ad provider, and Yahoo didn't approve a particular ad. It just happened, and G4 started delivering malware to their users through their website.
Right. So you really like, a lot of these ad networks don't vigorously screen ads at all.
Yeah,
And that and publishers don't have time, and they don't actually even have the ability, if it's on an ad network, to pre-screen things.
right.
So
You can only be retroactive.
yeah, you could just complain after. So it it's a really big problem. So yeah, I mean, I hope that there'll be a higher standard for these game consoles, because kids play it, and it's,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
it's
that's
just,
an
I hope
interesting point too. I hadn't
right.
considered that.
I mean, granted, you let kids on the internet, and they end up seeing all kinds of weird stuff that they shouldn't, but like, that's a problem. Then the other question that arises to me, though, is, you say that stuff is going to be in game, but there's some pretty illicit things that people do in a game, like, I mean, honestly, I haven't played it, but like Grand Theft Auto,
Yeah.
I mean,
Beating
people
up
do some
hookers.
pretty. You said it, not me, but anyway, right? So like stuff like that. I mean, first of all, kids shouldn't be playing such a game anyway. But
True.
but like
Its
but
rating
like
says that straight up.
but here's the interesting question. Advertisers are also very sensitive to where their ads appear.
True.
So are they going to, what kind of situations? I mean, not our problem. I guess that's probably Rockstar Games' problem, or whoever is making a games problem. But like, you know, if there's a part of the game where a player can do something, I don't know, let's say antisocial,
Sure.
you probably don't want your ad showing in that part of the game.
Sure.
It's also think about the implications for streaming. So now let's say a game streamer, I stream.
Fascinating.
Now that ad is getting out there to a lot of people who are watching my stream.
Yeah.
Now that's
Because
probably good for the
you're
advertiser. They probably like it.
you're
But
you're sponsored by, say, Exa, right? And you're streaming a game, and all of a sudden a Logitech headset ad runs during your stream. I mean, that can happen on Twitch anyway. But
you can't, I mean, advertisers can't win like that. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know if that causes any problems per se, but I mean, some streamers have relationships where they're sponsored by X, Y, or Z company,
right.
and then a competitor could come up and whatever. But on the other hand, nothing really the streamer can do about it, I'm sure.
And then you
So
then you start thinking, in that same vein, you start thinking, a lot of games are starting to implement a streamer mode, right? Where they don't use licensed music and things like that. I wonder if there might be such a thing.
yeah,
That might
I mean, I
affect.
hope somebody's thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a
On the
couple
other,
of topics that we've just brought up that hopefully somebody's thinking about, advertiser content warnings and things like that.
yeah,
All the things
yeah,
that Google, let's say YouTube in particular, has learned over the last 15 years the hard way, that we report on a regular basis. Hopefully, they're listening to the show.
of course. And if you're
And
listening
they've been
right
listening to the
now,
problems.
tell us what innovative stuff you've seen in the last year.
Yes. And no, if you're from Microsoft and Sony, your own products don't count.
Yeah.
And the other company's products don't count. Let's knock both of them out of contention if you work for either of those companies. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that, as I was writing this, I did not consider. That's why I always love doing the show, because we always come up with aspects of these topics that I just never considered. So yeah, the content, something like Fable, right? Or Grand Theft Auto. You can't kill the kids, but you can kill the dog in Fable. So, maybe you don't want your advertisement side by side with particular content. So, I mean, there'd be all kinds of things. This is a more complicated thing than I fear might be considered. So, from what it sounds like, from both reports, it sounds like we're expecting to see something in this realm before the end of 2022. So, doesn't look like it'll be too far off before we hear word of what is going on. We will definitely keep you posted. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, Mac, or mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus traditional issues like rogues, trojans, exploits, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. And to learn more, they get a special price right now. You can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. Okay, this topic came up while we were off, and it is probably the biggest topic in tech right now, so we definitely have to talk about what is happening over at Twitter. And I'm not talking about the possibility of an edit button. I am talking about the chaos that is the Elon Musk buyout. In time for what would have been our last show before Avram got sick, Elon Musk had purchased 9.8% of Twitter's outstanding stock without letting anybody know he was doing it. He then was offered a board seat, which he agreed to and then declined when he learned that he could not own more than 15% of the public stock. He was like, I've got a better idea. How about I write you a check and you get out of the building? And so Twitter's board of directors didn't particularly take kindly to that. He has made several moves over the last couple of weeks. The current one is he has filed with the SEC that he has secured the funding to go to the shareholders and bypass the board's poison pill and purchase stock essentially en masse, then be able to terminate the poison pill and purchase the rest of it himself. Which is a big deal because this week he is also in court for saying that he had secured funding to take Tesla private, which may or may not have been true. But in this case, there's a filing with the SEC. He actually has the funding to do this. The board of directors has mostly been fighting this until a report today. The board of directors met today, I don't know, in person or virtually, to discuss changing their minds. And they will make an announcement. This is not in the article because this has happened since. This was published this morning, and this has happened since. They met, and by their quarterly call, which will happen on Thursday, they will have a final decision on whether they will change their mind and accept the offer. So this is fascinating. There's been support for and fight against a lot of people who invest in companies and go in and fix companies. Most notably, Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful himself from Shark Tank, has said that Twitter is a disaster and he wouldn't have touched it with a 10-foot pole. But if Musk were to make the purchase, he'd be happy to invest, which is an interesting sign, but he's also an interesting guy. I don't know. The whole thing is fascinating because it seemed to start like a joke in the same way that Elon Musk's whole Dogecoin thing started as a joke. But this got real serious real quick.
I think this is, see, what really concerns me about this is that he's buying this because he wants to control. It sounds like he's buying this because he wants to control the speech on the platform. And, you know, for a normal person, $43 billion would be, you know, like, I'm not going to invest in something unless it's really serious profitability possibility. He may just be doing it as an avenue to get across, like, to get across whatever, you know, speech that he and his friends want to have because he doesn't like the moderation or something.
It's certainly possible.
I mean,
the other possibility is that he truly believes in the concept of free speech, and in his head, this is some sort of public service duty.
Really?
Like I said, he's a weird guy. You can't rule anything out with this guy.
I mean, he
hosted Saturday Night Live. I think, honest to God, I think specifically to try and drive the price of Dogecoin up. I think that's the entire reason why he hosted Saturday Night Live.
Right. The other thing is that he has used Twitter in ways that have affected stock prices, which I believe has, you know, come under some question about whether or not this is actually.
It's the thing he's in court for right now.
Right. So here's a platform that he's used to affect stock prices.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a platform. And so there's some heat on him for doing that. Here's a platform that's also, you know, maybe he doesn't like who they've been moderating or whatever. So he wants to buy it. And what for us, for what any normal person, any even normal billionaire would be like, you know, I can't do this because it's not a good business investment, right? He just wants it to have his way because it's a powerful platform, and he can get the speech out there that he wants to get out, whether that's affecting stock prices or his political point of view or something else. I mean, I think that's kind of chilling that someone can buy a popular platform just as a way of getting out their point of view, and possibly, you don't know, maybe suppressing points of view that he doesn't like. I mean, once it becomes a private company, it's even less accountable. It's even less accountable now
because the SEC is no longer involved.
Right, it's even less accountable. I have not heard anything that he said that involves actually creating more, I don't know, value with the company. I mean, and if it's private, I guess nobody's to care, right? I mean, if it's creating value or not.
So here's the reason why I'm not currently headed in that direction mentally. He has leveraged his ownership in Tesla to secure the funding to do this.
He's not going to be poor no matter what happens.
That's true, but Tesla's like his baby. So he didn't leverage SpaceX. He didn't leverage Boring. He leveraged Tesla.
I think it's his ego, and he wants this because it's his ego. That's what I think.
I definitely think his ego plays a huge part in this.
I mean,
for sure.
I mean, I don't know if there's any type of, I don't know, congressional approvals that have to take place for this type of a takeover, but like, this is a very.
I don't
his
think so.
motives in doing this takeover are very suspect.
This is basically the 1980s, right? The era of the corporate raider. This is the kind of behavior that happened every day during the 80s.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean,
so
all I can say is,
I don't think there'd be any congressional oversight, which is that was my only point there. This was such a common behavior in the 80s that I can't imagine. Although,
I mean,
a federal judge rented a naughty video, and so a federal law went into place that you couldn't share rental history. But, you know, you never know what Congress gets themselves into or doesn't. They get themselves into weird things that they shouldn't and don't do things that they should. So I don't know. Maybe there is.
Yeah, I mean,
they investigate baseball all the time. So, who knows?
I mean, this is becoming something that is almost like a public utility.
Mm-hmm.
It is that well used. This and Facebook. However, you know what? If it turns to trash, if people are unhappy with his ownership, then this would open up an opportunity for others. I mean,
Sure.
just because I mean, Twitter is only successful because of who is on it and the people are using it.
Mm-hmm.
The minute that it becomes uncool to use, uh, it becomes uncool to use. People think it's a cesspool. People aren't happy with the ownership. Is the minute that another company can come along and
Something
create
else.
another platform. Now,
Look at
now
MySpace.
the yes. Now, what I do think this all points to is if you're really concerned about free speech or whatever and you don't want moderation, content moderation, maybe we should go to an open protocol. Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
like there used to be with Usenet. Maybe instead of a corporate run social network like Twitter or Facebook, where there's a constant push pull between that company's desires
Mm-hmm.
and whatever you want to consider to be free expression, you
Or
could
just the
have a
desires of the
decent
or just the desires of the users. Whatever that means.
right. I mean, it's always a challenge whether you're going to moderate stuff, right? Because you have, um, because if something is a fount of misinformation, like, that's not great either. But on the other hand, if you have something where it's clear that nobody owns it and nobody runs it, and it's an open source type of thing, maybe that's the solution, right? Maybe you use something like the blockchain, I don't know,
Mastodon.
to,
Sorry,
you know,
Mastodon is a platform that's open protocol. Nobody's in charge.
I
Something that
mean,
I was
that
introduced to
obviously
a couple of weeks ago. I've been
hasn't really
investigating it.
caught on much
No,
yet, but
no, but if a black hole were to open up and swallow Twitter, all of a sudden there's a power
but
vacuum that lots of new because nobody had heard of Facebook either, right?
right, right,
Until
right.
MySpace started
I mean,
allowing auto playing music and crap.
I would like to see something that was not like, again, you would of course have it, there would of course be issues with, trolls and moderation and stuff. So I don't know exactly how you would handle it, because if you decentralize and you
Mm-hmm.
just say like, here's the tools, here's the tools, now communicate, um, then obviously people will need to be able to block folks. There will be all kinds of spam, whatever. But you won't have this sort of the target. You won't have a business that has ulterior motives.
Right.
Whether the business is biased in some way about the information, like they like one point of view or not another, or whether they're just biased in favor of doing things that make it ad friendly, which that or result in more engagement. I mean, for
Right.
example, Facebook, right, as a lot has come out about Facebook trying to show you more things that they think will make you angry, right?
Yes.
Uh, and the bias there isn't that Facebook has a point of view. I mean, they maybe they do, but the bias there isn't that they support this position or that position or whatever. It's that they support you being angry because they know that's engagement, and
Mm-hmm.
engagement is their incentive. So,
Right.
like, I really think this is an area where the privatization on the internet has been bad, making it even more private to be owned by the wealthiest man in the world is definitely not going to help. Um, so, but maybe using open technologies like the blockchain,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we could people could come toward like a common protocol, and it
Yeah.
may be messier because the same kind of moderation. Or maybe what you do is you have the open protocol, and then you can come through someone's server that moderates it. Like, oh, you want the unfiltered version? You want the unfiltered version? Here you go. But also, like, Google or somebody will have like a kind of like an RSS reader almost, right? Like, they will have something where, okay, we're going to provide you with like the catered version, right? And we're going to block trolls, and we're going to block spam and all that stuff, so you don't see it. But I mean, I don't know. It just feels like it's all been a step down since I started on the internet, and we had Usenet groups, which were open news groups where people could publish anything, and there was no moderation, and there was a lot of horrible stuff going on there. But at the same time,
4chan. I'm sorry.
It was very open.
I think I just coughed 4chan.
So, I mean, maybe you have like different companies offering a moderation layer on top of like the thing, which is decentralized. But if we had an open standard for this, like all the things that we have an open standard for now, if one company controlled them, we would be in the internet would have never happened. Email, right. We didn't have an open email, if we didn't have an open HTTP World Wide Web with HTTPS and HTTP, right? Where would we be? So FTP, right? So all the open standards that we have that have really made the internet what it is, and now you have the privatization into a couple of social networks which have their own agenda. It's not been good. I think it's been very bad, but everybody has to participate in it, or feels like they need to participate in it, because that's where other people are. So I would actually hope that people see this as maybe an opportunity for another social network to rise that is an open one, that is decentralized and not based on the whims of a particular company. Because no matter whether you like the owner or not, right? Like, I liked Google a lot too, but Google Plus, their whim was it wasn't successful enough for them to keep maintaining.
Right.
So.
Yeah, especially after that security issue. Right. They're like, all right, well, that's enough. But yeah, that's a great pitch. You know, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Again, we're gonna know how weird this is gonna get before Thursday of this week. So my feelings are we will probably be circling back on this on the next show. We'll see what happens, but something tells me that that we'll be circling back on this real soon. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. You know you get free shipping, but you get a whole lot more, like free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription with Amazon Prime Gaming, plus a whole lot more. We've got links to these features, plus some of our other favorites, a link for a 30-day free trial if you're not already a subscriber, and the ability to give it a gift, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. Subscription fatigue has been something that we've talked about a lot. There's a lot of subscription services out there. They are all competing for the same number of dollars that are available in the market. And it seems that some of that has come to hit Netflix pretty hard. For the first time in over a decade, the company saw a net subscriber loss instead of a net subscriber gain. The number that they gave is both true and not. They have 200,000 involuntary subscriber losses, which, again, first time in over a decade that's happened. In addition,
what does involuntary mean?
So that is, they did not decide to give those customers away. They also lost another 700,000 paid subscribers when they shut Russia off over the Ukraine conflict. So all in, they have 900,000 paid subscribers that they have lost in the first quarter of 2022. But 700,000 of them, they made the decision to give away. So the 200,000 were involuntary. They didn't tell them to go away. Those were customers that they lost based on business practices or whatever. Those customers decided to leave, and another 700,000 were forced away when they shut Russia off as an acceptable business territory. So whether they gave them away or pushed them away or they left of their own volition, the important thing to note is 900,000 paid subscriptions less over the first quarter of 2022 is a huge number, especially when you take into consideration that it's the first net subscriber loss in over a decade since the DVD days. I mean, that's a big deal right there. The company has their beliefs on why this happened. They say that micro factors, including sluggish economic growth, increasing inflation, geopolitical events such as Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, and some continued disruption from COVID are likely having an impact. I have a feeling it's a little more than that, and I think it comes back to a conversation you and I have had a number of times. Netflix is not the name that comes to mind initially when I think, what's new and exciting to watch on streaming tonight?
Yeah. I have to tell you what their top 10 movies are. Their top 10 for today are.
Okay.
I guess it's just top 10 movies, so it's only what they would call a movie and not a show. So maybe that's why this list is so lame. But here's your list of top 10. So this is, presumably Netflix reporting what people in the US are watching right now.
Okay.
Number 1, White Hot: The Rise and Fall of Abercrombie and Fitch. Okay. Why would?
Okay. So first of all, it was an interesting documentary, kind of. I'm just gonna put it out there. It was interesting, but not good.
What you'll see is that a lot of these are not Netflix originals.
That one was,
Number 2. Yes, that one was. Number 2, The Cleaner. Cleaner, a movie with Samuel Jackson from 2008, where he cleans a crime scene.
Weird. I randomly watched that a week ago. I wonder if I'm the reason why it's trending. Go ahead.
Another movie I've never seen, but apparently Netflix original from 4 years ago, called How It Ends. Number 4, The Atom Project. A pretty okay movie, which I watched with my son a couple of weeks ago. Actually worth watching. Number 5.
But okay is a good way of putting it.
Yes. He really liked it though, but he keeps asking questions about like why, if somebody killed their future self, why their past self. I have no idea. Anyway, number 5, Shrek Forever After, not Netflix content. Number 6, Shrek. Number 7, The Blind Side. Number 8, Shrek 2. 3 Shrek movies in the top 10.
They must have gotten it yesterday.
No, those have been there a while. I watched Shrek with my son on here a few weeks ago.
Weird.
Number 9, Grown Ups, the movie with Adam Sandler and his friends that's from like a million years ago.
Weird.
Number 10, A Medea Homecoming.
Oh, no.
That's your top 10 movies for today. On a weekend where people would... There's not... I hate to say it, but there's not a lot of good stuff on Netflix right now that people haven't seen.
They know that I am so disinterested. Possibly they've read the article that they're not even showing me the top 10 today. Normally it shows up as one of my bars. It's not showing up today. I don't know.
Yeah, I am I'm gonna hold on to this for a while. My wife still wants it, whatever. But I have to tell you, I do not watch much Netflix at all lately. Uh, what I am now, this is somewhat of a segue here, but I am now like lately really obsessed with watching British mysteries. And Netflix is garbage in this area. They have nothing pretty much. So, or they've had a couple of shows that I've seen, but not very good. BritBox
BritBox and Amazon Prime.
and Acorn TV.
Oh, Acorn. Yeah, yeah.
I have a BritBox subscription and an Acorn TV subscription, and those are my watching them every day now subscriptions. So, and we watch Disney Plus, and we watch, and every now and again something comes on HBO Max, and for the Star Treks we have Paramount, but Netflix, like, what is the selling point? It's Stranger Things, a show that hasn't been on in years and will be on one more time or two more times.
And once that's done, I think I am too.
I want to see the next season of Umbrella Academy. I like Umbrella Academy.
See, and this comes back, and I mentioned this on GNC Week in Review. I mentioned you in particular, that we've had this conversation for like the last 2 years, that we're always on the edge of going, I'm done. And like, oh, but Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's like there's one thing a month, maybe maybe 2 months, every 2 months that I want to see. Now, that's not great. I mean, that's something, but it's not great when you got to make a decision, and the price of this is actually going up, and you got to make a decision about what you're gonna keep and get rid of with all these streaming services. When I have other streaming services that it's like, hey, I'm finding something new every single day to watch on this other service.
Yep.
And on your service, not so much. So
exactly. And so one of the things that I didn't talk about, we'll talk about how Netflix is responding in a minute. But one of the things that I didn't talk about in the article is that with the rise of all these other services and the first time decline of Netflix, BitTorrent is on the rise. So you had cable with lots of ads and not a whole lot of stuff that you cared about and a lot of stuff that you didn't. And, BitTorrent became really popular, and then streaming made things easy. Netflix and Hulu made things easy. And now you've got 20 services and you're basically back to cable, and BitTorrent is back on the rise. So they might be shooting themselves in the foot here. So that was an interesting statistic.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can't really win because there's so many streaming services out there. I think the ones that do it, that really have me the best, are the ones where it's an annual fee, not a monthly. And
interesting.
And the annual fee is not nearly as high as Netflix. So like, Acorn TV was like $70 for the year.
Okay.
Right. And, and in the first month month and a half that I've had it, I've watched like 10 different shows on there. So, okay. Yeah. BritBox was a similar thing. Right. Paramount is also something like that, So, I mean, I don't know.
I find myself using Paramount a lot. Obviously, I watch a lot of Hulu and Amazon Prime, but I find myself on Paramount more often than I ever did on CBS All Access, which I find interesting, considering theoretically it's the same platform, but obviously it's very much not the same platform.
I mean, I mainly only watch the Star Trek shows on there. I mean, every now and again there's
I've been watching movies and stuff on there.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of Paramount branded movies that are on there that I've been watching there's a lot of really quality stuff, which I was surprised by because there wasn't when it was CBS All Access. There was nothing to watch except the Star Trek. And at the beginning. But now there's all kinds of interesting stuff. And again, I find the only thing that I ever kind of go over to Netflix for is occasionally if I want to listen to a single episode of 30 Rock, but it's also on Peacock, so it's not that important to watch it on Netflix. So,
yeah.
after Stranger Things and Umbrella Academy, I mean, I might pause it for a while, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, my wife still wants to watch it, so I think I won't be able to get away with that. But yeah, I mean, if it were just up to me, then I would probably pause it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the company's response. It seems that they are not hearing what we're saying, in that we believe that the theory that the problem is in content, and so they are axing content. They have already canceled Bright 2, which is a Will Smith-led project. It is not having anything to do with the Oscars, and Will Smith is always a good lead, and possibly even more so since the Oscar thing. I don't know, but it looks like that's gone. They have fired the head of animation for Netflix. And cut at least 2 of the projects. One of them, an adaptation from a company that they own. They were so enthralled and so focused on making Roald Dahl content that they bought the company that owned the rights to his entire catalog. And they have canceled the Twits, which was an animated adaptation of that story, and also an adaptation of a comic, Bone. There's no telling what the future holds for other projects. They've got some controversial stuff out there, especially in animation. Big Mouth and HR might, they might, take the L on the controversy on those series and let them go. There's also other stuff from his catalog, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Matilda, that are supposed to be in mid to late production at this point. Who knows? Those might get cut too. I have a feeling this is just the beginning, and I fear that this is going to be like the writer's strike, in that cheaper productions like reality TV will take a bigger piece of Netflix's focus, and we'll see more of that content. But there's no telling. I would not be surprised if the changes that they make, when they inevitably don't fix the problem, because I don't think that they're addressing the actual problem. I think they're trying to pretend that their content isn't their problem. And by not addressing that, I have a feeling that investors are going to be looking to make some changes come next board vote. Just a guess. We'll see.
So one thing I don't think you mentioned is that Netflix is trying to kind of pawn off its problems on password sharing, and has this plan to start charging people money if they see that the service has been used in multiple places or whatever, crack down on people, which obviously they could make some money on that, but they could also really annoy some people. I think they'll take the money. But and the thing is, also, don't they also have some possibility that they may have an ad-supported tier as well?
Not possibility. Absolutely guaranteed, confirmed by the CEO.
Wow. And what will you lose by being on the ad-supported tier? Can you just watch everything on there?
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
Absolutely confirm that it's coming. Is it going to be like Peacock free or Peacock $5? Right? That's the question. Because the Peacock free is missing things, and the Peacock $5 has all of the things. Both of them are ad supported. What is it going to look like? But we also don't know what it's going to look like with Disney Plus's ad supported tier. Right? We know that they're coming. We don't know what they mean. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would seriously consider switching to the ad-supported tier because the price of it's going up and the quality of the content's going down. I think one of the things that is wrong with Netflix is it has no identity, right?
yeah,
It has no identity. Like if you think about the different service, like I kind of really like these services that have an identity. This is your, you like British TV, this is your place. You want Star Trek, Paramount, you got to have Paramount Plus.
yeah.
You want Star Wars and Marvel, you
Disney
got to
Plus.
have Disney Plus, right? So what is the identity of Netflix? Like
Yeah.
what is the big thing that you're like, oh, I got to have Netflix for this? It's like, oh, Netflix has stuff.
They were going
And
hard on sci-fi for a while, and that was when they were really killing it, right? I didn't really like Sense8, but I know it was a big show. That was a sci-fi show. They've got Stranger Things. They've got Black Mirror, right? They were going real hard into science fiction for a while, and then they're just like, that's fine. And
oh, they also had a big fail with, what was that show? I forget, the one with Josh Duhamel where it was a superhero show. Like they paid all this money for licensing it, like hundreds of millions, and then they
yes,
canceled it immediately. What was the name of the
yes.
show?
I'll have it for you in a second. Maybe I won't. There's so much stuff. Oh my god.
Jupiter's Legacy.
Yes,
Jupiter's
there it
Legacy.
is.
That's what it's
Yep.
called. I watched it. I watched the whole thing. FYI, it was meh, right? But this was based on a comic book, and they spent a lot of money. A lot of money on it. Unlike, let's say, Amazon Prime, which has licensed The Boys, and that show is unbelievably great, and everyone should watch it.
And
Um,
and it seems like they spent all of $11 to make it happen. You know, to get it, and they're like, "Ooh, let's make this the best thing ever," right? And they
yeah,
did.
they
And Netflix
they
spent
did.
all this money to license this thing, and an hour in, they're like, that's good enough. We're done.
The more money that they spend on something, the less the quality it seems like too.
It
Because like
does.
if you like, for example, you mentioned Bright, right? Most people didn't like the first Bright,
Right.
and they spent like 150 million or something on it. Like it was, I mean, it was decent, but I mean, I think like a third of that was Will Smith's salary. So like, why were they making a second one in the first place?
I don't know.
I mean, they spent a lot of money on stuff that's not that great. Now,
That's
some of
their problem. They,
yeah,
there's a great joke from Family Guy where, like, throughout a particular episode, all of the characters had a Netflix comedy stand-up special, and they made the joke that anybody can get a comedy special, can get paid to do a comedy special, and that's the thing, right? They just, because they've been the leader for so long, right? They essentially created the industry. They've been the leader for so long. They've just been like a spray gun, just
yeah,
and hoping that
and
something
the
hits.
quality,
But they can't
right,
do that anymore.
right.
They
The
they
level
need to
of
figure out
quality
who
is,
they are, and it.
yeah,
I mean, if they want to be the semi-political content network that they've been leaning towards over the last 18 or so months, I mean, that's fine. Just know who you are and stop being something else. You can't be everything to everybody. In the new, when you were the only one, or it was just you and Hulu, you could try and be everything to everybody. But like you said, you can't be now. Have an identity. Figure out who you are. Are you doing these love at first sight reality shows? Are you doing, high quality sci-fi, Umbrella Academy and Stranger Things? Are you doing documentaries about true crime and or
I mean,
national
I want to
parks?
say,
Pick something.
I
Decide
want
who
to
you
say this
are.
though, the true crime documentaries that they've made, actually, a lot of them are pretty good. Like that, they're documentaries, I mean, this is not what they're trying to be known for, I feel like, but the documentaries on Netflix are the one thing that's been consistently pretty good. Good.
Certainly production quality. There's been some issue with the actual content, but yeah, I mean, for the love of God, look at Tiger King.
Right? I mean, besides just the crime ones, right? Like if you look at some of the pop culture ones, like the movies that made us, such a great series, the movies that made us, and the toys that made us, like those are fantastic. Like I feel, and then like they've had some others like Catching Killers or whatever. Like I feel like they've done a really good job with some of their documentaries, and like, but again, that's probably not like an overall selling point. I don't know if they would keep their 200 million subscribers by calling themselves the documentary service. But
sure. I mean, DocuBox hasn't gone anywhere calling themselves that, so but
yeah. So I don't know the answer there, but they don't have an identity, right?
Exactly.
If anything, their identity was either All Things to All People, which is not a great identity right now, or we have Stranger Things. But considering that they get a Stranger Things every like 3 years, that's not really a great selling point.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see. I would say the next fiscal year is going to be really important for them. We'll see if they do make any changes or if they just try and play the business as usual game. But I don't know. I think something has to change. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate it. If you didn't and would like to in the future, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, f5live.tv/join us. You can chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback. If you can't join us live, that's okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows. F5 Live, Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and a whole lot more. And all of the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. We're still interested in your feedback on two things. First, we've got our audience survey still running right now at PLUGHITZlive.com/audience. It takes 60 seconds, and we're giving some free stuff away to a couple of lucky people who fill out the survey. And second, hit us up on social media. Let us know what you think the most innovative product of the year was to you over the last how many months?
The last 12 months.
Last 12 months. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Over the last 12 months. Let us know what you think the most innovative product was. We definitely want to hear about it. And I think with that will do it for us for this week. On behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we'll see you back next time. Ciao.